Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. We're really happy to welcome Anya Scott and Elle George from IndiNature. They're doing some really interesting work with building products which are hemp-based. So they're going to tell you much more about their amazing product range shortly and uses for their products as well. What we're going to do is ask you to keep your mics off for now. But we will have Q&A towards the end. So we'll let Anya speak for a bit. She's going to give us some information. And then towards the end, we'll have a chance to do some Q&A and maybe have a bit of a discussion. And you're welcome to bring examples of your projects as well. So if you have any questions about anything specific, then Anya and Elle will be able to help you with that. If you want to put any questions into chat as well, like we normally do, then please just pop them in. We'll pick those up throughout and towards the end. What else can I tell you? We'll be sending out a feedback form as normally we do. If you could just pop your thoughts in that and send it back to us, that would be fab. I think that's probably about it from me. So I will let Anya run the show now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am just going to share my screen and hopefully it works. Let's see. There we go. I think this should be it.
That's it, Anya. That's great. Thank you.
Right, I just need to go back to the beginning. I do apologise. There we go. So first of all, thanks very much for having IndiNature across. It's a really good platform to be able to promote our natural fibre insulation to within the industry. First of all, I'm Anya Scott. I'm the company architectural technologist, and on the call as well is Elle George, who is the innovative lead. Is that correct, Elle? Sorry.
Industry collaboration lead, I think it's the official title,
Yes,
but it's quite vague for a reason.
I was like, just make sure. So that's our contact details there, and you'll be able to contact us after. First of all, this is our natural fibre insulation. As an innovative, we would definitely say so. It contributes very healthily to the built environment, both for new builds and old builds, and we're very proud of our products. At the fact that it is very environmentally friendly. So I'll not drag on about this one too long because we're all in the industry, we know, but we know that the impact of construction materials is not a healthy impact for global environment. So it takes up to about half of the global resources, it contributes half of the global CO2, and also it contributes half of the landfills. But we IndiNature are very passionate about preventing further material impacts in the environment, hence the reason why the products that we produce. Just a second. There we go. Sorry, I'm going between two screens at the moment, so you'll need to bear with me. So this isn't just about the materials, this is about the whole circular sustainable development. The materials that we use is industrial hemp. It's a great renewable resource compared to the finite materials such as concrete or steel, and it's regrown within a very short cycle as well. It also helps the dependence of the extraction of materials and promotes the long-term sustainability. Then we've also got the net carbon storage, which means that the hemp sequences and it sucks out the more CO2 during the growth than it does actually during the process. So it's actually contributing right to their minimum and acts as a carbon sink. And then we've got the carbon design, and it aims to keep the material in use for as long as possible. And that's through reuse, recycling within the construction industry. And it means that sustainable development for deconstruction prior and use and afterwards, it's a biodegradable material, and it minimises any landfill waste as well. So this is the industrial hemp. Now, it takes up to 100 days to grow from seed to crop. It grows about 2.5 metres above ground and 2 metres below. Now, it's not just what happens above ground, which is fantastic, it's also underground. So the roots actually help break up the soil and improve the soil quality. So every time there's a growth, there's added nutrients to the ground. So for every crop, it's getting healthier and healthier. And that's also because there's no pesticides or insecticides used. So this is normally, after it's harvested, it's left to dry out for 3 to 4 weeks. Then the farmer will then harvest it, it's balled up. The farmer will keep the shiv and he'll use that for agricultural bedding, and then we get the fibres. And if there's anybody working, if there is anybody wondering, there's 700 strains of this plant, and only a few have the bells and whistles, and this is not one of them. So it's very safe to be round about. So this is the mill. It's in the Scottish borders, and it was a previous mill. It was a previous factory that we took over, and some of the workers that are in it were actually previous workers as well. So we're actually allowing the local economy and the local job market to continue as is. We've had investments for the Scottish National Bank. There is some other investors as well, and it's also bringing back the local manufacturing traditions back to the area as well. Sorry, my computer is just not working at all just now, and it's taking ages. There we go. So there we go. I'm so sorry. So basically what happens here is, this is Graham. He works in the factory. He's actually been with us for the beginning. And what he's doing is, he's at the beginning of the process. There is a video on YouTube that you'll be able to look under ecological building services. What happens is, the shiv and the fibres, as I explained, they're actually separated. We get the fibres here, and through the process we remove any remaining shiv. That then gets tumbled and it gets put into like something like a big tumble dryer. And that's when the binder and the fire retardant soda ash is added to it. It's then put through the thickening, which means it's all put into the different thicknesses, and it then gets rolled out, and it then goes into an oven which sits about 100 and I think it's like 130 degrees, so it's actually cooler than baking a cake. And then it comes out, and that's it all compressed, and we start doing, I think the thicknesses are from about 20 up to about 160, but sometimes depending on the project we can do off the shelf ones for you, if need be, but that would be something that we would need to discuss. And that's the finished product here. So as you can see, it's nice and light and airy. Now looking at this is IndiBreathe, which you can see the wee white flakes in it, and that is coating that's added. But I'll go through the different products later on, but you can tell the different products by how it looks in the finish. So we've got Silence, which is that's the one that's mixed with the cotton. We've got Therum, which is 90% hemp, and the IndiBreathe is that's the one that's 60% hemp and 30% jute. And the jute is recycled coffee bean bags. And we have just brought to the market the IndiBoard, which is a a semi-density board, which can be used directly onto the brickwork or the stonework, and it can also be used on top of other products. If you've got rafters, that you can put that on as an extra, and it can also be finished with plasterboard or lime plaster. So we've got more details on that later on. So just to do a quick comparison on it, So the natural fibre-based insulation which we do, it's renewable, it's carbon negative, it's very safe to touch, comfortable and user-friendly, excellent decibels readings, and it's highly breathable. So obviously we had to compare that between general mineral and glass wool and synthetic. Again, when you look compared, we've obviously got, the carbon emissions during manufacturing for both of them isn't good. They're both irritant. They've got okay acoustic values, and again, we beat them on the breathability. Then again, looking against the IndiBreathe, we've got the thermal conductivity, which is kind of on a par, but still better. We've got a much better heat capacity reading, which obviously means the heat's going to be stored for a lot longer. And then the density as well, and again, that contributes to your thermal mass. See. The handling and application, we are getting great feedback from any installers. Now, we don't have specific installers. As long as you've got a competent installer that's already installed insulation, that's got quite a gentle hand for installation, they will be absolutely fine. It's an excellent, I love fitting it. Don't need any PPE, especially when you're up in lofts. You don't need any special breathing ventilation masks. You don't need windows open, and it's actually got a very nice smell, which is kind of like tomatoey, kind of earthy smell. So you've not got that synthetic, I don't know, the kind of petrol smell to it. It's actually very nice, but we do get very good feedback for the installers. There we go. Now, we do recommend specific saws to use if you're using hand saws. So it's the wavy profile edge, because obviously the type and the durability of the fibres. So if you're using a general purpose saw, it tends to drag, whereas if you use the wavy form that we do actually provide now, you'll find that it cuts like butter. So if you're just doing a small project, a hand insulation saw would be fine. If you're doing larger, then we would obviously recommend going for a cordless, the Edmund or the face tool as well. So the benefit of the users, there's no VOCs, and unlike other natural insulations, it's pest resistant. So for some reason, there must be something in it. It deters rodents and insects, so there's never going to be any infestations. There's no, you're not going to find an infestation of insects or rodents. There's, again, as I said, it's a natural odour, and it's a steadier temperature, so you're going to get it warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer. So fire safety is obviously a concern, and we need to make sure that we're within building regulations. So this, like any other natural fibre insulation, it's a Euro Class E. That's currently being retested again as a whole unit concerning plasterboards and everything. And that does look at that will actually get increased. The soda salt, which is what we use, is eco-friendly. There's no toxins. On the off chance that fire does come into contact with it, it doesn't drop. There's no fallen embers, and then it does eventually self-extinguish. So IndiBreathe has actually just been approved by Ofgem. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Uplift scheme that we've got going on in Britain. So basically what happens is we've actually been the first and only natural fibre product being included within this. Basically what happens is you've got contractors that will go out into homes, and they'll reinstall any insulation that's needing replaced, or include if the existing insulation is of good quality, so that the installers are actually getting paid by Ofgem to assist with this project. The application can be used anywhere in the home, whether it's your rafters, your ceiling level, your internal walls, your floors, the external walls as well, so it can be applied anywhere. IndiTherm and IndiBreathe are both BBA approved, and what with IndiBoard now being on the main platform, that will be getting approved at some point. There we go. These can all be found on the website, just to let you know, or we can have these sent out along with some samples. So I'll quickly go through some of this so that you have got a better understanding. So as you can see for the picture here, the guy's not got any PPE on, it's friction fitted, and it basically just goes through. Now what we tend to do is allow a 10 mil compression on each side. So as you can see, maybe at that back, just the wee slot at the back, there is some wrinkles. Small wrinkles are fine. We don't like it completely rammed in. So if you dress it, it's you're really promoting the benefits of the insulation. But because it's friction fitted, it can be hand cut and you can take it anywhere in the home. What we do always suggest is, because of the hygroscopic properties of it, as you can see up the top, is always try and leave an air gap, and that means that any moisture in the insulation that has travelled up and through will be able to get out, and there's still enough of an air gap between, so that there's a nice, there's no any chance of any moisture. There we go. And again, as you can see here, the insulation is pretty poor, so we would probably suggest that this was removed and replaced. But again, that's down to the individual case on it. Again, this is just going through your PPE and how that you don't need any PPE. If there's any light hoods or cables, they should actually be cut round, or any cable should lie on top of it, again for safety reasons. And then when you are part of a retrofit process, we do have an installation guide for Joe Blogs off the street. If you're part of the retrofit, we would have two separate installation guides for you, and obviously your warning guides, just so that if there's any future checks on the loft. So with your floor, again, just cut in between your joists. I know this is a ceiling, but we'll just kind of go through. Again, it's just friction fitted. It's so easy to use. With floors, we do recommend using a small supporting membrane, and again an open vapor membrane as the base, so that we're not creating any potential condensation. We don't recommend using them with a closed membrane. Again, we don't like to keep this material, isn't good for being airtight. This material needs to breathe. So, and again, which in turn allows the building to breathe. And then your stalling walls as well. So this needs to be updated. I do apologise. So your IndiNature would generally be used for wall insulations if you were using it in the wall, and that would be within your timber frame, but we would always recommend that there was at least a 20mm gap down the back, again for the hygroscopic properties in between, and with a small open membrane, and then your plasterboard. So this is the new IndiBoard that we've just included. So at the moment, the install guide's getting updated and finished. So I've popped these in today so that you've got a better understanding. But this can be directly applied straight across onto the stonework, or you can, depending on the quality of the stone, you can actually put a pad coat in, and the whole system is excellent with or without the pad coat, and it still gives off good U values. And then again, it's the same pad coat if required, and again, both would be recommended using the yield fixings are similar to it. And again, depending on whether you're plastering or you're using the plasterboard, we've got the finishing layout for that as well. So the product, again, the workmanship, we've kind of went over that as well. So if it does happen to get sodden, we would say you would probably need to buy new stuff or get new stuff. If it's slightly damp, as long as it ends up how it was, then it would be fine. But you need to make sure that this product's bone dry before it's installed, because if there's any dampness, if you were using parch coats, you would need to make sure that they were fully dry. Again, because that draws out the moisture, you're not going to leave any moisture within the wall units. So a summary of it is it's a bio-based insulation. It's very biodiversity and improving for the actual soil health, regenerative, renewable. The carbon imprint and embodied imprint is fantastic. It's breathable, very safe to handle, not just for the use, not just for the installer, but also after it's installed. There's no flow gassing or anything once it's in place. So it's always going to provide a healthy indoor, and it's all made in Britain as well. So we have also been established, it's in 2022. We've actually been 3 winners of the Scottish Land and Estates, the Big Retrofit Challenge, and the Green Business Award as well. Now, what I don't have in this is some case studies, so I do apologise. We need to wait until I go onto mother screen. So currently we've got quite a few case studies going on. So the first one is the Duchy of Cornwall, down in the Skilly, and we are having, whenever we do speak to them, we're getting really, really good feedback for them, not just for the building, but also for the handlers. We are working on, we've done quite a few with Rainforest Housing Association, and we are also working with Castle Monks and Quarries down in Lockerbie. We are starting to work with the BMC. We work alongside BASED, ecosystem technology. So there is quite a lot of big companies that we do work with, who are always recommending us. And again, just every general day, buildings, like inquiries from, I don't know, Joe Blogs phoning in asking how they can insulate their traditional building or their new build as well. And Cala Homes, again, apologies, these have not been put in this presentation, but they will be done. So that is me done and busted. So I think that's me just made it in time. But if you have any questions or queries, you're more than welcome to ask away until the end of it, or you can drop us an email after it's finished.
Thank you very much, Anya. I think we've had a few questions come through in the chat already, and I know Elle's been quite on it with answers.
Okay, I've not even seen the chat.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to pick up one from Bernardo. You mentioned that it's been approved by Ofgem. Does that mean there are government-funded schemes to have loft insulated using your product?
Yes.
After mineral wool.
So yes, we're the one and only natural fibre insulation that's actually been accepted onto this Ofgem scheme. So at the now we're at 25% for contractors. We are in negotiations to up it to the next sector as well. And we do have quite a few. I don't know if anybody's heard of Acana. So they're a company that does thermal reports and testing. So we've got all those reports sitting there if anybody's interested in it as well, just to see actually over a year how the material affects your building after a year. And again, they're all great reports. So
great stuff. Okay. Elle, is there any that you haven't managed to answer that you'd like to bring to the floor?
Yeah, there was one, if you check out on your on the walls, about stripping off existing plaster. And yeah, I thought you'd be well placed to answer that one. Can you see that one?
Let me have a wee look.
I'll read it out. It's on walls. Do you have to strip off existing plaster if cement-based or non-breathable paints have been used on the wall over a few years?
Okay, right, so this is where my building conservation head's going to kind of kick in a wee bit. So it depends on the soundness of the stonework or the plasterwork or paint. Now, sometimes it is better to strip anything off, whether it's cement based, because obviously, especially if it's a traditional building, it's actually to have it all lime based. However, sometimes it's best not to rock the boat, shall we say. So if you do have cement based mortar and it's in good quality, it's in good condition, depending on your budget, because it always comes down to budget as well. Don't stress too much about it. It really should be, if it's within the budget, that's absolutely fine. However, if budget is an issue and it's in sound condition, it's don't fix what's not broken, is what I would say. So that's that one there.
Great. I saw one from Tony as well. Solid stone walls. I don't think you've managed to answer that one yet, have you, Elle? Could you go over the procedure for using this against solid stone walls again? It is an air gap required. Do you have recommendations for what thickness can be used before condensation becomes an issue?
Sorry, say that again. Could you say that again?
There's two questions in one, really. Could you go over the procedure for using this against solid stone walls? Is an air gap required there?
Okay, so I've got two products. Well, if you're wanting it to be flat up against the stonework, then the IndiBoard would be fantastic for you. If you're wanting to go, that's it there. Thank you very much. Like this. If you're wanting to have it straight up against the wall, then the IndiBoard. However, depending on your budget and how you want to finish the walls up. If you want to use a timber frame, then yes, we always recommend at least a 20mm gap. And the reason being is if it's a bat and it's a lot fluffier, but we're trying to cut out and if we're not wanting that to touch the actual stonework, because if that touches the stonework, because there's a lot more air within it, you're then going to create a potential cold bridge as well. And if there's any dampness in the wall, it will suck it in rather than getting rid of it. So we like that air gap in between.
Great, thank you.
So the IndiBoard's got a little bit of flexibility, so it's a bit more forgiving than a wood fibre alternative. It's really difficult to sort of show that on the screen, but there's a little bit of movement in it, if you can see that. And then the bat, as Anya said, is friction fit. So you could, once you've created the timber frame, you can push that into the opening. And you could use a combination of the two products as well by pushing that into a framing and having that on the outside to create a rigid finish.
Getting a few questions through about price. How does it compare to typical alternatives? One specifically asking about mineral wool. What price?
Shall I answer from the point of view? So we are talking to Kier Construction about a big project. You know, these are big players who are taking this product very seriously, and they're looking to replace them in loft insulations. And as Anya said, you can put the you can put the hemp straight over an existing glass wall, same as you could with a rock wall. But because it's slightly better thermally, you don't need quite as much product. So that, combined with measures like the Ofgem Innovation Uplift, that can contribute to it being roughly price parity. But overall, it is a more expensive option. But we think that the cost is, we prefer to look at it in terms of value. So you're going to get a much better value overall. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And in terms of glass wool, it is of course much more expensive, but you're not really getting you're getting a much more superior product in that sense. In terms of other costs, the Ofgem Innovation Uplift is currently at 25%. So every £1 of grant, you would get £1.25, obviously. But we're in the process of getting an uplift to try and make that 45p. So that really would bring this to be a product which potentially the installers will find it is cheaper to use that. But that's obviously, that application's work in progress. Hopefully we'll hear by the end of the year.
Emma's asking where you'd get your products from.
Well, we've got two farms. We've got one in Kelso, just along the road from the mill, and one down in Yorkshire.
Right. So what about retailers? Where could you buy it from?
We've got ecological, Celtic Sustainables. Is it MKM as well? There's quite a few. All the distributors are on the website as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop a link in the chat of where to buy, but it is updating quite regularly, and we're just in the process of getting onto Travis Perkins as a supplier on there as well. So that's the routes where you can buy it is increasing all the time, but you can get a reasonably up-to-date list on our website, which I'm just posting now. In terms of Ireland, I'm not 100% sure on that, but one of our main distributors is Ecological Building Systems, who are an Irish company. So I'm pretty confident they're also supplying into Ireland as well.
Yeah, they are. I just referred from Dover last week for somebody from Belfast. So they do over there. Yep. Let me see.
Should we pick up this one? In hemp and insulation LCAs, how do you treat biogenic carbon uptake and release at end of life? Is it assumed fully released, or scenarios like reuse, recycling, or landfill considered?
Oh,
the product, any material that can come back to our mill can go straight back into the the product cycle itself. And obviously any offcuts we get in the mill go straight back into the front end. But we can also accept material at the end of its life. But obviously that's not been widely tested because people haven't tended to collect up this material for its second life. But when it does come to that, yes, you could put it back into a process and recycle it as the preferred option. You can't, it's not biodegradable in the sense that you could put it on a compost and it would biodegrade because it's got other elements mixed into it. So yeah, it's obviously a big consideration for its whole life to use it as long as possible.
Lovely. Josh is asking about WUFI calculations. Do you offer WUFI calculations to check moisture risk for internal wall insulation?
I'm actually due to start my training on that in November. We do have a company that will sometimes do it, yes. So we actually did a WUFI test run I think it was last month for the Indie board. But when I'm running the U values, I will do like a condensation risk analysis. So it will give us a kind of starting point. So if you're not looking for a full WUFI, I can do like a condensation risk analysis for you. If you were looking for anything, and that will give you a better understanding of it until I actually learn how to do WUFI.
Great. So maybe by the end of the year, early next, you'll be able to offer WUFI calcs.
Yes, yep.
In the interim as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's try and think. Yeah, Julia's got a question. Thermoflace systems use a breather membrane at the timber frame stone base.
Yep, we would use one as well. Yep. So we would recommend using like an Intello Plus membrane on the front of it. So obviously you'd have your insulation within your timber frame, and then it would be your Intello Plus, and then obviously your plasterboard battens be your plasterboard in front of it. So we would always recommend an Intello Plus.
Anya,
or something similar.
Julia's asked, would it work to have, just the end of that question is about the 20mm gap. Would you recommend that, or using the breather membrane with no gap?
Julia, feel free to put on your mic if you'd like to expand on your question.
Yes, thank you. No, this is just so the Thermoflace system uses the internal airtightness and vapor control layer. Yeah, like you say in Intello, then the insulation in the timber frame, and then at the timber frame stone junction, they use breather membrane. I don't think they use a gap there, so I was just wondering whether there's two ways of doing it, either with the membrane or with a gap, or whether you would generally recommend having that gap.
Well, it depends, because obviously in between your membrane and then you've got your plasterboard, so we would obviously use that 20mm gap for your services. So it would really depend whether you were wanting to use that as a service gap. But we would generally recommend using, like, putting in the 20mm if you're having a service gap. If not, then you probably could put up. I'd need to look into that a wee bit more, because I've not actually came across that when it's just been put, and the plasterboard's just been put straight on top of it.
Sorry, I mean, not the internal, not on the warm side of the insulation, but on the cold side of the insulation. So where the
on the other side, we would put the insulation in we would put the membrane on the warm side. Because if you've got your 20mm at the gap and the stonework is in good quality, it's in good sound condition, that acts as, because it's hygroscopic and it needs some sort of airway, so that if there is any moisture, it would pass through. You could, if you were wanting to over-engineer it, you could put a membrane on the other side, but we've never had any issues with requiring that on the cold side. Yep.
And is there no issue with thermal bypass or anything, or it's like if you've got good render on the stonework?
Yep, as long as your envelope is in good working condition and in good sound condition, you'll not have any issues at all.
Right, great, thank you.
No problem.
Salome's got a question. Would you like to put your mic on? Because it might just be easier to verbalise your question, if that's okay.
No problem. We're looking at building a timber frame. So on the inside of our timber frame, we're looking at putting the hemp blocks, and on the outside cast in hemp. And then on the inside then we'll be cladding it with either tone groove boards or lime plaster.
Okay.
So the question I was just wondering is, with your products, can we do that or not?
Do you mean putting it on the outside?
No, we'd be looking at putting your products on the inside because outside we'll be doing cast-in hemp.
Okay, so the inside, so it would be the external would be the hemp and house, right? Okay, so yeah, you could do that because that's a very breathable system as well. And on the inside, what are you looking to finish off with?
Tongue and groove boards.
Tongue and groove boards. Aye, you would be able to do that. What I'll do is I'll take your details
Okay.
and I'll give you a wee email tomorrow and we can discuss it a wee bit further and we'll be able to get into. Is that all right?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you ever so much.
Okay.
Elle, I don't know if you want to just pop your contact details into the chat, just because it flashed up on the slide at the beginning, but it might
Yeah.
be good for everyone to be able to pick up contact
I'll
details.
do that now.
Okay. And I think we'll be sharing the slides as well afterwards, if that's okay with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
There we go. So Salome, I've put my email down the bottom if you want to even drop me a wee email rather than give everybody your details. And then
do it that way around.
yeah, you can send me a wee email and I'll give you a call tomorrow. Is that all right?
Great. That's good. Bit of project-specific advice. Does anyone else want any project-specific advice or have any questions about something maybe they're working or about to work on? They're curious about hemp. It would be good to hear from you. So please just take off your mic, just turn on your mic and ask. We're in discussion mode now.
You've got. So I see Richard Payne has asked, assume it can't be used in a masonry cavity. It would really depend again on the quality and the soundness of the masonry. Is it like a double leaf that you're talking about, or is it breeze block? Richard, can you pop your wee mic on? If that's all right, and we can have a wee quick.
I just thought generally in a masonry cavity whether it could be used or not.
Again, if you were going to use something like that, I'd probably go for the IndiBoard because that can be used directly onto masonry. I wouldn't suggest using the bats again because the flexibility of them. So it could be used in a masonry cavity, yes.
But
I
not
would say
within
so,
the cavity, but you mean on the outside, Anya? On the inside face rather than within the cavity itself.
Within, but I would say that you could use it within because it's a density board. Again, because as long as the masonry is in sound condition, as long as there's no chance of any water ingress or dampness getting in, then I would say yes. But if there is any chance, then I would say no.
So it would have to be a rendered external leaf or external insulation in addition, or something to stop the water coming through.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
As long as your masonry is in good condition, no problem.
Great. Okay. Josh had a comment. Josh, would you like to put your mic on, or I can read it out?
Hi there. Yeah, there's a baby in the background, so
Oh.
you might hear that. Hear him. Yeah, so this idea of setting the timber frame back from the wall. Yes, there could be a thermal bypass. I think Julia was kind of mentioning whether it could just be pushed up without a cavity, but obviously that's got to be vented, isn't it? So just thinking about a project I have at the moment where we might be doing that and maintaining a cavity without the risk of thermal bypass. It seems to me that you need a good either breather membrane, obviously that's quite hard to install on that outside face up against the cavity, or something like bit rock board, so that should avoid that thermal bypass, if that makes sense.
Are you still talking about the cold side, Joshua?
So where there's a timber frame,
Yeah.
and you're leaving a 50 mil cavity towards an existing stone wall. I have read literature saying that the issue with that option is that you've got a thermal bypass, of course, because you need to vent and drain that cavity. But it's not really a thermal bypass if the external sheathing or membrane is wind tight.
Yeah. Again, as long as your envelope of the building is in good condition, that is like that. As long as the external, whether it's even if it's down to the mortar, as long as the mortar's in good condition, the stonework's in good condition, the render's in good condition, because what you're trying to do is prevent moisture coming in. But again, if you've got lime mortar, that's used as a way for moisture to escape as well.
I think Josh
So-
and Julia are talking about a route for the air to infiltrate if there's a thermal bypass. Is that what you mean, Josh and Julia?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you've got a membrane wrapping round, that should be prevented.
On the,
I think that's the point you're making as well.
right, aye, in a roundabout way. We see what's the benefits of using hemp. What makes hemp insulation unique? Why is hemp and where do you source the hemp from? Right, so we've done that.
I suppose just to add to, the benefits in terms of being unique, it's one of the best carbon capturers. So, you're able to store several tons of carbon for every ton that is manufactured, which is in vast contrast to the majority of petrochemical based insulations. So that's the biggest benefit. But there's a lot of other benefits around that Anya did touch on, but around slowing down temperature differentials, and of course in terms of its health benefits, we talk about our greatest wealth is health, and that shouldn't be minimized really, because with the world we're living in now of trying to make everything airtight, everything that's off gassing and giving off formaldehydes and VOCs can cause significant impacts, as well as obviously moisture causing problems with mold. There's other air quality considerations. And also in terms of the health of the handlers that are installing this material, they absolutely love working with our product because they don't need to wear a lot of PPE, which is, often makes you sweaty, and it's uncomfortable to handle the product, that it's not an irritant. So that's a big benefit. That's why they keep coming back to it again. And in terms of its source from, I think as well as Yorkshire and Scotland, there's new growing areas all the time. I think there's one down in Devon and something in the sort of other areas in the southwest as well. So understanding and appreciation of hemp is growing rapidly. In France, for example, there are, I think it's 7 or 8 hemp insulation mills, whereas we've just obviously got IndiNature in the UK. So it's rapidly growing an interesting material, not just for insulation, but a number of other uses.
Is it quite fast growing? Does it, you can
100 days.
100 days.
100 days it takes, yeah. And then that's obviously when harvesting and everything gets done. And then it's like 3 to 4 weeks by the time it's harvested. And then the farmer separates the shiv. So he's using the shiv for agricultural bedding and things on the farm. We get the fibre, so there's literally no waste at all. At all.
In terms of Josh's question about the thermal mass, I believe the Indie board does have a higher thermal mass, but the flexible insulation also has excellent specific heat capacity when compare it with other insulation products like mineral wool, glass wool, and definitely when you compare it to PIR boards and the like.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have further questions they'd like to ask? Please feel free to put your mics on it might be easier than typing it.
So what's the direct comparison between wood fibre and hemp? Why would we choose hemp over wood fibre?
I want to take that on you, or should I have a go?
No, that's a you one.
Well, I wouldn't ever knock other bio-based materials because we need all of them for different scenarios. So I don't want to sort of say it's better than this, because some of the reasons you might choose this type of insulation is because it's a bit more flexible in terms of putting it into frames. And as I said before, when you're applying it to solid walls, it's a bit more forgiving. So we're in the process of talking to a couple of partners where we're trying to create a systemized approach for internal walling systems for solid wall properties, where it would be applied directly to the wall, and we'd be looking to optimize the layout, so the cutting layout of the board material, and potentially also pre-finish it with a lime plaster to create more of a product type solution. So that's where hemp can be advantageous because it's a bit lighter to lift. So those panels are a bit more easier to handle in a situation where you're trying to retrofit quickly with a systemized product. I'm trying to think of other benefits. I mean, both wood fiber and hemp insulation have excellent carbon capturing credentials.
I mean,
It seems to me that they're very similar products. You've got flexible ones, you've got rigid ones. So yours is made in Britain, which is most of the others are made in Germany.
I don't believe there's any wood fiber insulation made in the UK at the moment, but that, as I say, the bio-based materials market's rapidly changing, so I wouldn't really want to be 100% confident on that claim.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just said the low carbon footprint, because it's grown and produced here, is a real plus point. And yeah, just the fact that it's renewing quicker than trees would. So those are two definite. And I have picked up a board, and it's a lot lighter than wood fiber. Wood fiber's great, but yeah, it's a lot lighter.
When it comes to an internal insulation system, you don't want to put too much insulation in, do you? Because you make the wall too cold.
Yeah, I think I can't remember which organisation it was, but they talked about this like sweet point of insulation where you don't want to over insulate because you're just creating too much mass, and there's a danger of interstitial condensation from too much thickness, and obviously you lose, if you're retrofitting, you're losing space in the room as well.
With wood fibre, it's about a maximum of 60 millimetres. And after that, you're putting the dew point in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Is anyone thinking of using hemp insulation products in any of their projects that they've got coming up? Yeah, Emma is.
Excellent.
What kind of project is it, Emma?
Well, I was going to get hold of, sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Anya, is it?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, perfect.
I'm actually estate bursar in a school, so we've got loads of buildings, and it sounds like a good product, but I just want to understand this a bit more. But yeah, all of our retro EPC having to comply with that, etc.
Yep, we're looking at another school project at the moment, and they're especially interested in the hemp because of the benefits I talked about in terms of the air quality and its ease of installation. So I know Archetype, the architecture practice, has done quite a bit of work on that if you want to reach out to them for any more. And then someone, just said about Scottish wood fibre, that's right. So we have been talking to the good folks up at BEST, Built Environment Smarter Transformation, and they've been doing some research on homegrown timber being made into wood fibre, Scottish timber. And they did, as part of the research that's ongoing, they've been mixing the wood fibre and the hemp together and finding that that performance was even better in terms of the thermal conductivity, the lambda value, than what they're achieving with the wood fibre on its own. So that's quite an interesting development. So watch this space for innovations in bio-based materials, I think.
That's great. Bernardo also says that you might be using hemp as well. So I don't know if there's anything you wanted to ask about the project you've got in mind, Bernardo, please do pop your mic on and feel free to ask questions.
And bearing in mind, for all that it's an installation company, we do kind of give information and assistance with the conservation of buildings as well. So it's not just about the installation. If there is anything that you've got project-wise that we can help with, just give us a wee phone or an email, and we can give you as much information as possible. So that's also part of the service.
I've used hemp, but came from France. It was like horse bedding, but it was mixed to make hempcrete, and it was blown into an oak frame on our house here.
Lovely.
Yeah, so but not a boarding. Yeah, but it was interesting to see what they did. A bit of an experiment. We'll see how it goes. Takes a long time to dry out.
Yes, I know. That's the only thing when you are using that type of material.
Which is the advantage of sheet materials, yeah.
Yep.
And Anya and Nail, have you got any case studies that you wanted to reference, or maybe signpost to, so they can
I do, yep. Come Now, I need to apologise because when I was doing my presentation, I was working between two screens because I had that technical issue when we were trying to set it up. So it looked as if I was actually flashing between. So I'll probably do that again. So I do apologise in advance for looking at the other screens.
Don't worry.
So we are currently a couple of the ones. Give me a wee second just to bring that back up again. Because I've taken it down. I'm not even going to try and set this back up for sharing, but I can talk you through it. So, sorry, just a second, there it is there. So we're doing, we're doing case studies with Cala Homes, which is the new builds. And they've been a great success. So that's obviously, so it just shows you the difference that we do, as well as doing traditional buildings, it's actually very good for new builds as well. And what we've done for that was it was the Indie Silence, that was the roll. So that's the one that gets rolled down and stapled in. So that's a different one as well. And the reason why they used that was for the thinness of the new internal walls for the partition walls. So we do have different products for different applications. We've got Castle Malton Quarries, that's down in Lockerbie. That's traditional buildings on an estate. And what we used there, it was the 20mm gap and then the timber frame with the friction fit. I think that was IndiNature that we used there. Again, they're going on to their fourth house, I think it is, so they're just sending that in. Base that they've been used for within the cladding within the base building at Blantyre. So that's you can look at that online. The ecosystem technology, which is a social bite up in the Highlands. So that's also we're getting used in there. We've got the Rainthrough Housing Association, so they were used for the lofts. That was previously, and we've actually just taken on one from Aberdeen. There's a new big project kicking off with one of the Aberdeen or Aberdonian housing associations as well. So it's good the fact that it's not just main crop contractors that are using this now, because a lot of the time local councils are quite sceptical about using different materials. But the fact that they're actually getting on board and they're actually seeing the health benefits of the occupants as well, and obviously for their installers. So we do have quite a good few projects on the go. And then we've got the Duchy Cornwall. I don't know whether they're on today. I'd seen that they were going to be on. And again, that's for the traditional builds, but also for the new builds that they're going to be doing.
I've got some images on here of the ones we just received on
Perfect.
Friday from
Lovely.
Highland Council.
That
So
would be lovely.
if it's all right, I'll just try and share those.
Yeah,
Yeah, please do.
Can you see it?
It's just coming, I think.
It's coming.
Yep, there we go.
I think they're just slightly out of order, so I'll just go that way. So I think this is before the bats are installed. And then you've got the insulation bats been fitted in between there. And then it's been finished off with the board on the outside of that. Just a few more pictures of the Indie board around the window detail there. And then there's the membrane that's gone on and finished plasterboard there. And then finished plaster there. Hopefully that was helpful. We are we're a bit behind with case studies, being 100% honest, but we have recently recruited a marketing lead, and she's in the process of doing some really good write-ups. So hopefully that'll all be uploaded onto our website quite soon. So obviously it's growing. I wouldn't say we're a startup, but we're things are evolving rapidly. So there's lots of things still to do for us. But we've been obviously prioritising getting the accreditations, and the BBA certification's been a huge amount of work, if people know about how tricky that is to achieve. So that really demonstrates the commitment to quality and it being a product that's really ready for mainstream adoption.
Great, thank you. Right, I can't see any other questions coming through at the moment. probably got time for one or two more if anyone has anything. Oh, Greg's asking, was that finished with gypsum plaster?
Hopefully not. It should be lime, I would have thought, Anya.
Was that Duchy Cornwall?
No, that was the Renfrew, sorry, the Scottish Highlands photos that we received on Friday.
That was gypsum plasterboard.
Oh, that's
That
not
was,
ideal.
but that's like that again. Obviously, a lot of projects come down to time and budget. So it's very good that you can use it with the gypsum plasterboard as well. And again, it's down to the individual budget. So it would be great, but unfortunately you can't plaster on top of the flexibats because it's too bouncy. Whereas that's why you can plaster directly onto the boards.
We were working with some lime plasterers on this finished product.
Wait,
but that's still to come.
are they doing that on right? Okay, on the thing, right?
That route's still being tested.
The indie board, yeah, but the indie board's fine. The indie board you can plaster directly on top. That's obviously been a last week thing while I've been off.
Yeah, sorry, Anya's been on holiday and I've picked this up the last minute.
Right, sorry, thank you. Yeah, so that will obviously be something that will be coming into the fold at some point.
Great. Well, watch this space. Sounds exciting. Okay, we've got a couple of minutes to go, but let's maybe think about wrapping up. I don't know if there's anything anyone wants to say before we go. Okay, well, that leaves us to thank Anya and Elle very much for joining us today, telling us much more about their products. I don't. Can people get hold of samples at all of the products?
Yep. So what we can do is I'll put my email address in just one last time. Take a wee copy of it, and if you are wanting samples, any documents sent down, an EPD, a BBA certificate, or anything, I can do that. So just drop me a wee email, and I'll be quite happy to send anything over to you.
Great. I love the last comment from Julia, which says, "Thank you for the presentation and dedication to developing this."
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
Having
a laugh.
Sorry, I suppose it's just one more thing to say about IndiNature is that it's not really just stopping at the insulation, which is what we've become known for. So we are developing these new board products, and we have got another line installed now called a needle punch, where we're mixing with other fibres like sheep's wool to create further product ranges in terms of into other industries as well, like into agriculture. And we're talking to a mattress manufacturer as well, mixing making mattresses out of hemp insulation, not just insulation, but making these other products as well. So although it's IndiNature's about insulation, it is growing rapidly beyond that.
Yeah.
Great, love your ambition. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everyone else for being at the session. And yeah, I hope you'll get in touch with Anya and Elle before long, and maybe look at specifying hemp in one of your projects. Great to see it on site soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to stay on for a couple of minutes after we close the session?
Yeah, that would be smashing if you don't mind. That's lovely. Thank you.
That's great. Have a good evening, everyone else. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you.